What's up everyone, and welcome to another Rust electrical tutorial. I'm Austin, and today we're going to be covering part 2 of how to build the factory. In the last video, we covered part 1, which was the system control. So if you haven't watched that yet, I'll link that. You should take a look at that before you jump into this. Today's video is going to be the how to build the crafting module, which if you watched the proof of concept video was this room here, which is wirelessly controlled by this room, which was what we covered in part 1. So just a quick disclaimer, as I stated last time, this is the beta version of the factory, so there have already been quite a few changes I've made for the version 2 that I will put out in the future, but we're going to go ahead and still complete the tutorial on how to build this, just so we can, see where this all came from. So to get started, what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at some of the items that you're going to have to build repetitively. We're going to start with this group of 4 conveyors that you see here with the green pipes, and it really is just 4 conveyors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 splitters, 2 combiners to create the 4 conveyors. And you're going to have to build that 4 different times, and I'll center that here for you. So you'll notice on the top left we've got the 4 greens, the top right has the 4 green conveyors, and the bottom left is the yellow, and the bottom right is the yellow. So they're color coded because they are paired as a system. So you'll notice that the output of this first one here is running to the input on this industrial crafter here, and then its output of that industrial crafter is running to the input on that set of 4 conveyors over there. Same thing on the bottom, real simple. The output is running to that industrial crafter there, and then its output is running to the input on that set of 4. So you're just going to have to build those 4. That's pretty simple. The next thing you're going to have to put together are 8 of these delay timers, at least for the beta version. And so I have blown that up a little bit out here just so you can see how that's built. So if you want to just pause it or take a screenshot or whatever, you're going to need to build this 8 times. There will be no, and we'll cover this, but there'll be no branch manipulation. It's just going to be as is. So just build that 8 times, and you're going to install that however you want to install it. I've got it right here. So that once you have those, you have the 4 conveyors in blocks of 4, and then you have the 8 delay timer circuits set up. You're going to need, again, at least for the beta version, 16 of these RF receivers, and I'll cover how they're wired after, but you'll need 16 of these set up, and then you'll need some kind of output box. I just used this. This is the buffer box from the concept video, and then as far as power goes, you're going to need, if you want to, I'll center this for you here. You could take a screenshot and kind of put at least the components up, but you're going to need these components for power. This whole, what is it? Let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7 splitters, those branches. And I'll cover this here in a moment. And then beyond this for power, it's the 2 car batteries you see down there, but we'll cover that last. So once you have all this stuff kind of set up or ready, what we're going to do is we're going to start the wiring, and we're going to start that wiring from the center, because once you build all these timer delays, you will have only 2 outputs missing. You'll have two ports you can hook up to. You're going to have the output of this timer on the left, and you're going to have the toggle on of this timer on the right. So you can hook these into the system, which is what we're going to do next. Before we start that, just take a moment. You're going to set each of these timers. The timer on the right is going to be 3 seconds, and the timer on the left is going to be 0.25 seconds. And you're going to do that for every single one of these sets. So it's just 3 and 0.25. We're going to start with the output here. The way this thing is set up, you'll notice, is it follows the stack. So this top one here, you'll notice, is connected to the power on of the, the power on, there it is, of the top conveyor of this block of 4. So this this row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, these 4 timer delays follow suit with these 4 conveyors. And so all you're going to do is connect the output of that first timer to the toggle on, the turn on of the conveyor, and then you're going to go down in order. And it is important that you pair these correctly, because they do pair up over there also, so these need to go to the correct ones. So this next one down, for example, same thing. It's just going to run down to the next conveyor. Here it is, and it's running to its turn on right there. The next conveyor down, its turn on. If I could get that to highlight, let's see. It's gonna be kind of difficult when I'm up here. Let's see, right there. This turn on is connected to this one, the third one down, third row, third conveyor. And then the final one obviously is running to the bottom one. It's turn on there. So you're gonna run this top output to the turn on of a stack and just keep that order going down. And so this next set here is these blue lines, and these are running, it's the same exact thing. So I'm just running these to the turn on of these conveyors going down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that top one's going to the top one turn on, this one's going to the second one's turn on, this one's going to the third one's turn on, you can see it right there, and this one's going to the fourth turn on. And so once you have that, that's pretty simple. Let's see if I can get that one highlighted. There it is. And it goes to there. So that's pretty simple. That's all you're gonna do for the first set of hookups. The second set of hookups that you're gonna do are the toggle ons of these left ones. And so this is where we switch sides. So whereas we were doing the turn ons of this side here with the wiring I just showed you, for the toggle on is controlled by this stack over here. So if we start with the same one we started with last time, if I highlight this line, you'll notice that it is running to the toggle on of this down here. And that's because you'll see that these purple lines, I've color coded everything. So the purple lines match. So we have purple lines coming out of here. We have purple lines coming out of there. We have blue lines coming out of here. We have blue lines coming out of there. So this purple line over here, this top one, so this is the filter pass. An easy way to remember this is that at no point during this build are you ever going to use the filter fail. I don't use them at all, so you can just ignore that one. The filter pass is going to run to the toggle on of their respective timer, and what you'll of this timer. And what you'll notice is that this filter pass right here is running to this toggle on, of which in this timer delay, its output on this timer is running to the top one here. So what you'll notice is this conveyor is paired to that conveyor. So the top two conveyors in the yellow are paired to the same timer delay circuit. So that's the important thing here, is that you need to make sure, it doesn't technically matter where you put these, but I tried to do this in a way that made it easy to follow so that you can note that these have to be paired correctly. So again, the filter pass on the next one down runs to this timer set, which is these components here. Its output, predictably, is going to the second one down here. So that's the second one down, second one down. And it's the same thing on the blue. So you would just go down. This next one, you know, this filter pass, that filter pass is going to go to this one and then this one. And the two outputs here should correlate again to the same ones on the other side here. Same thing with the blue ones over here. If you were to follow this top piece here from the filter pass coming out of this top one, it's going to run to the top one here. Its output of that top timer delay should run to the turn on of the conveyor on the top one over here. So this conveyor is paired to this conveyor here, and just do that all the way down. Filter pass, filter pass, filter pass, filter pass, going to each one of these, toggle on, toggle on, toggle on, and make sure that its output runs to the respective conveyor on the other side that matches where they are, if that makes sense. And so that's really it. And I'll back this up and see if I can center this. Let's see, we'll get it like where it looks nice. Just you can follow these visually, take a screenshot, pause this, whatever, and just make sure that you're careful, because if you get any of these wrong, it will immediately break the system. So as far as hooking the conveyors up, that's pretty much it. The only other thing that you don't see is that these conveyors on the left side here, the input conveyors from the source boxes, the filter pass on this side is actually connected to the turn off of itself. So send the filter pass to the turn off of itself on all 8 of these going up. So every single one of these should have, you can see that little blue line sticking out, that should be running to the turn off. You can see it kind of shining right there. So just run its filter pass to its own turn off on this whole left side stack to each of these 8 conveyors. On this other side, you're not going to do that. The turn off is actually controlled by something else. So as far as the conveyors go, wiring them up to the center timer delays, that's all you have to do there. The next thing we're going to cover is over here. We're going to hook up this stuff here, and we're going to concentrate on the green and yellow lines, because they are running to, it's very simple. It might look complicated, but all it's doing is one's running to the turn on. So the green ones are running to the turn ons, and the blue one, or I'm sorry, the yellow ones, or the green ones are running to the turn on and the turn off, excuse me. We'll cover those first. So what's happening here is that these are what control from over there, and we'll talk about this in the calibration video when we actually run this thing in the next video. The green, we need these things to turn on and turn off, and the way I did that in the beta version was I used these RF signals, or these RF receivers. And so what it's happening here is that it's a set. So the way I ordered this is that these two, so this is number 1, number 2, this is going to the on and the off. So you can follow that, see? So the on is running to this first one, the off is running from the output, obviously, of the second one. The next set of 2 goes to the next conveyor. So this on, if I can highlight that here, that on right there, which I can't seem to get onto my thing there. Let's see, there we go. That on there is running to this third one, which is the next set of 2, right? So its partner there, the next one down the road, is going to the off of the same conveyor. So it doesn't really matter. You know, you have to keep track of these. They do need to be in the right order, and they have to be set to the right frequency in the correct order. So it is kind of important that you do this. So I would suggest laying these out in some sort of methodical way that you know that this is pair 1 goes to conveyor 1. This is pair 2 goes to conveyor 2. Conveyor 3 is the third pair. The fourth pair is conveyor 4. Again, just on and off. And so the same thing with the yellow ones. This is just the next set of conveyors. I just did this so that it was you know, color coded. You could see where it came from, but it's the same thing. This back one here, its output of this back one is running to the first conveyor's on, and then its off is going to be running to this next one right here, which is just hard to, there we go, that one there. And so that if you follow that down, that goes to the off input on the top conveyor. So once again, it's just 8 pairs or 4 pairs of 2. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each goes to the on off. And so you have to make sure you keep them in order, because when you set the frequencies, these are duplicate pairs. So you can think of these as for the yellow ones, these as for the green ones, but they do the same thing. So this first one, based on what we did in the first video, I set the example frequencies. Again, don't do something this simple, but the example frequencies for on are 10, 20, 30, 40. And the example frequencies for off are 11, 21, 31, 41, meaning just one more than the ons. And so what you would do up here is you would set these to 10, 11, so on, off, 20, 21, so on, off, 30, 31, again, on, off, and then 40 and 41, again, on, off. That's why you have to make sure you keep track of this, because you need each one of these to run down on, off, on, off. So this would be the ones that had the 10 and 11. This is the 20, 21, 30, 31, 40, 41, and it's the same thing up here, is no difference. 10, 11, 20, 21, 30, 31, 40, 41. And so once you have that set up, you've pretty much done most of the difficult stuff. As long as you were careful, you should be okay. So the last thing we do before, I'm just gonna kind of look at some of the piping. That'll just be last, because that's really easy, is we're gonna tackle powering all this. So one thing about the beta version, if you probably haven't noticed, is that it's pretty power hungry. So we're gonna start with the stacks, and what I did was I broke it up. So I'm powering these 8 and their industrial crafter, these 8 and their industrial crafter with their own battery, because they require, so relative to the circuit, so little power, they can just be run off of a car battery. So what all I'm doing here is I'm running from the output of the battery. It's running to the input on the switch. I added this switch after I did the concept video, because it was nice to be able to shut this off if I wanted to reset these. So that's all that does. You don't actually need this. If you don't want this, you can go straight from the car battery to the power input on the conveyor. But the way I have it done here, this is running to the switch. Its output then is running to the power in on the first conveyor, and then I'm just daisy chaining. And what I mean by that is the electrical pass through on this first one is going to run to the power in on this one. Its pass through runs to the power in of this one. Its pass through runs to the power in of this one. So forth, all the way up, all 8. So it starts here, daisy chains all the way up to here, and then the top one, its electrical pass through is just running. I just have it routed down through here, but it's running to one of the conveyors. It doesn't actually matter which one. I'm just running it to the one that it's technically paired with, just for continuity's sake. But so the power line should go output through the switch, through all the conveyors, and then to terminating at the industrial crafter. And you'll notice, some of you might notice that that's, this thing puts out more rust watts than is needed here. It doesn't really matter because I'm not using any branches, and so it's just using whatever it needs because, you know, it was too much power for one battery. So same thing over here, exact same setup, no different. The power out just routes through a switch. Its power out runs through here. It daisy chains through all these 8, and then its output up here, the electrical pass-through out here, is going to run to the other industrial crafter so that you can power it. So that's all you have to do for powering the conveyors and the industrial crafter. So that covers all that. The rest of it's powered off of this block over here. And the first thing I'm going to point out here is that the system needs, I think it's 113 rust watts. A large battery puts out 100, so that's not enough. So what I've done is I've added a battery to this. And so I just ran the output of this large battery to a root combiner, and then I ran the output of this car battery to the other side of the root combiner, so that on this end I get 115. I've covered this in other videos why you don't want to do this, or instances where you can. This is one of the instances where it doesn't matter that you do it because I'm so close to what I need. I'm totaling 115. I need 113, so there's really no very, 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 very little loss in efficiency here. So you're just going to connect these together using a root combiner, and then the combined power out, this 115, that is going to power everything else in this system except for what we just covered with these small batteries over here. And so I'm going to just kind of do this methodically because this might seem a little bit intense, but it's not as bad as you think. So from this from this root combiner, this starts the power distribution for the whole base. We'll cover this here. This is charging, so we'll cover this here in a minute. From this root combiner on, so basically this branch and up is all power distribution to the actual circuit. So I'm going into a branch of which the branch out, we'll just start here. This branch out is set to 69, and that is running into this branch here, and it's set to 34, meaning that you want 34 and 34. You could swap out this for a splitter, but there's no functional difference because of what the outputs are, and it's just smaller and more compact. So that's the only reason I used it. You can use a splitter. It'll automatically do 34 and 34 if you set this to 69. One of them, its branch out, again set to 34, is going to run over to this branch here. Its output is set to 25 because I want 8 coming out of, I need 4 outputs. These only have 3, so this is a pair. This makes a 4 output splitter in a way. This one and this splitter here, this branch and the splitter, make a 4 output here. This is output right there, 2, 3, and 4. And so you're going to set this to 25. You're going to set this to 25 so that you have 25 arriving here, which gives you 8, 8, 8, and 8. So importantly, if that's confusing, what you need is 8 coming out of all 8 of these ports. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each one of those needs 8 rust watts, and those are just running each one. And this is just one of the outputs, this one here. If we trace that up, that's just running to one of these timer blocks. Each one of these timer blocks needs 8 rust watts to run it. And so again, the timers, the branch switches in the timer delays, you're not going to mess with. They just stay in their default configuration, so don't worry about that. But you need 8 arriving at this power in for all 8 of these timer delays, and that's what this block is. This provides 8 outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for those 8 timer delays that we covered earlier in the video. And so that's what this distribution is. If you follow this white one here, this is just going to this one because we need 34 arriving at both of these. This is a set, that's a set. You need 34 arriving at this set. You need 34 arriving at this set. That's where that 69 came into here, split up into 2 34s, power, power. And if you set this to 25 and this to 25, you will automatically have 8 coming out of here, 8 coming out of here, 8 coming out of here, and 8 coming out of here on both of these. And so that's all it is. If you follow any one of these lines, they are simply running to the input on one of these timers. It doesn't matter how you route power to these. You just need to get 8 rust watts to each of these 8 sets. And that's all that's doing here. And that's from this point out, we've covered the terminal end of where this goes through those timers. The other side of that branch, so going back to our original start here, instead of going out the 69 we sent out to the branch out, if you follow the power out, it's going to take whatever's left, which is 45, and it's going to run that all the way over to here and into this over here. And this is the same thing I did over here. I need 4 outputs, so I made this. So I have 45 arriving here, which is actually 2 more than I need, but that's sort of the leftover. Specifically, what I want is 32 coming out of here, because I want each of these to have 10 coming out of each of them. So you'll notice this has 12. That's because I don't need 45 arriving here. I only need 43, but there's nothing I can really do with that, so I'm just letting it spill over into this. It doesn't matter. And each one of these, this is one of the outputs here. This is one of the outputs, that one and that one. Those are each running to one of these 4. So this is a set here, these 2. This is a set, these 2, and this is a set, and this is a set. Just like I did down here, no different. I just need 4 outputs because everything in this circuit is an even number, and these are odd numbers on these splitters. And so each one of these should have 10 arriving, so that I can send 7 out to here, which will give me 2, 2, and 2, because I need 2, 4, 6. This requires 1, so 7. So I need 7 arriving, 7 coming out of here, and I want 2 coming out of here. So I need 10 arriving here, because this uses 1, leaves 9 left over. So that's 2, 7 is 9. And so each one of these outputs needs to have 10. That's all you really got to know, is that you need 10 arriving at each of these branches, and you're going to set each of these branches to 7, and it will do the rest for you. So you should have 2, 2, 2, and 2. And all these are doing, if you follow any one of these, they're just running to one of these RF receivers. It doesn't matter which one you send it to. I have 2 arriving so that I have 1 to power it, 1 to pass. I can't remember if that bug is still present, but I don't include bugs in my builds, and because under the assumption that they eventually get patched. But that's what this bundle of wires is. Each one of these wires is coming out of one of these outputs. We've got 4, 8, 12, 16 outputs for our 16 RF receivers. And so you just have to send 2 rust watts to each of these receivers, and so that's all that's doing. So once you understand that covers all of our cable or our wires. Here we have the red wires or power, and we have 16 of those, each having 2, and that all started right here. And that's actually all the power. We've covered everything, so it's not quite as bad as it might seem. I mean, even though, you know, for the beta version, it's a bit hungry. And then the last thing we're going to cover is, before we kind of just sort of button things up here, is we're going to cover the charging for this. So this is accounting for the 80% charging efficiency of Rust batteries. Also understanding that I'm sending to each battery the bare minimum it needs to trickle charge, the absolute slowest it could possibly trickle charge, more or less to a whole number anyway. That's what I'm sending in, and we'll talk about that. So from a power source, and so this is going to be from a root power source. You're going to need to power just the module, the beta version of the crafting module. You're going to need a charging input of 186. So that's at least 2 windmills. However you want to do that, you need 186 rust watts minimum. More than that if you want the batteries to charge faster. So this particular battery is receiving 126, which is the 1 rust watt over what it needs if it has a full active usage. And if you look at the active usage, it is maxed out, and it will always be maxed out. So you must send this at least 126 rust watts all the time. On average, in a Rust 24-hour Rust period, it must receive 126. If you start power cycling, it's because you're not providing 126 reliably to this battery. And so same thing with these batteries down here. They have a max output of 15. These two will always be maxed out at active usage 100, active usage 15, so 100% on each battery. So this one has to receive a minimum to the whole number 19, and it will slowly, I mean, we're talking, this is like a less than a whole number actually, because it's like 18.75 or something is the minimum for a max if you do the 80% charging efficiency. So I'm sending 19, which is like barely anything. So if you want these to charge faster, send them more. But what I'm showing you in this video is the minimum you must send them if you don't want them to lose power. And so right here, I'm sending in this 186, and that branch out is just running to this block, this chain of branch switches here. And all these branch switches are doing is they are distributing charging power to their specific batteries that need them. So this first one here is set to 126, and it is running to the input on this battery. We just talked about that. The next one, and they're just chained together really simply, is the power out to the power in, the power out to the power in. The next branch out is set to 19, and that one is running to this one here. Again, that's the bare minimum. You might want to send more if you want it to charge faster. The next branch and the next one is also set to 19, and that one's running to this battery over here, which again is the bare minimum. And then the final one here, if you set this correctly and all these branches correctly, it will automatically, this power out will automatically have 19, which is running to this battery here. And so as long as you've done all that correctly, you should have 126 arriving at this big one, 19 arriving at each of these small ones. Again, if you actually look at this, the active usage on this one says 9. That doesn't actually make sense. That's what I was talking about earlier, because none of these are on. Whereas if you look at the active usage on this one, it says 1 because it's registering this switch only, and these are all off. So these are not hooked up differently for whatever reason. This battery's not registering active usage. This battery is registering active usage. So if I were to turn this on, it's then gonna register turn that off. If I were to turn all of these on, like if I were to go through and flip all of these on, this is something, if you don't know this about conveyors, is that they only register active usage on the battery if they're on. So you'll notice it says 15 out of 15, even though we're technically only using 10 rust watts. If you were to add this up, it'd be 1, 8 of these is 9, that is 10, but yet I have 6 left over. I don't know why it's doing that. My whole point here is that I'm sending 19 to each of these to account for the idea that if it does this weird thing, if you send 19 or more, you're covered. It doesn't matter. So just send what it needs, because it's a car battery, it's so small, send the max it could possibly need for full active usage, and it'll cover you in case this glitch or whatever it is happens. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is just kind of the forward and end pipes. If you watched the original video, the concept video, this was my source boxes up here. Of course, I didn't really cover any of that, but those are the source boxes, and that's all this is here. I have 4 boxes chained together. This is just an example. You don't have to do it this way. We're gonna cover what the source boxes need in them in the 3rd video when we calibrate and actually run this system. We're gonna connect these two together and actually craft a bunch of stuff using this. But you just need a source box area. So this is just my example. This could be, you could be using one of the, there's other YouTubers who have made sorting systems and whatever, but you would connect whatever it is you want to have your materials available to this input right here on this industrial splitter. This is the input to the system right here. So however you want to do this, you connect that here. And then the rest is pretty obvious. This just runs to the green set. This runs to the yellow set, and that's it. The output of the system here, each one of these is running to the buffer box. This is specific to the system, so you'll need to run each of these pipes to a single, the easy way is just to do it this way, a single small box. And all I've done is just the yellow one's going to this storage adapter, and the green one here is running to this storage adapter on the same box, because we just want a box to buffer the stuff, which we'll talk about in the actual calibration video. But that is actually everything you need to know to put together the beta version of the factory for the crafting module part 2. So in the next video, we are going to cover the calibration, where I'm going to hook this into this. We're actually going to run it. We're going to put stuff in these. We're going to set this all up. We're going to calibrate everything such that it is actually crafting stuff like from the video. So we'll get all these things set up, all the industrial crafters set up, all the blueprints set up, everything running, and then we're gonna fill boxes. We'll set up boxes in the end, just like I did in the original video, and fill them with all the loot. So that, folks, is just about all I've got. If you guys have any questions or comments, of course, please leave them below. Otherwise, you can get me on my Discord. See you later.